Idaho, strange mutilations. The towns of Jerome and Bliss have been plagued by bizarre mutilations since the 1970s. Human, cattle, and deer, genitals removed, the bodies drained entirely of blood, and no discernible footprints or other forensic evidence left at the scene. The official explanation by law enforcement is cult killings, but no arrest has ever been made, and no cult has ever been identified. Illinois, the mad gasser of Mattoon. During the 1940s, law enforcement received more than 24 cases of gassings, in which the victims reported paralysis, coughing, nausea, and vomiting after smelling a strange, noxious odor in their homes. No physical evidence was ever found, however, and the victims always survived. Some believe the attacks were a case of mass hysteria. Others believe the mad gasser actually existed or that the attacks were really the result of paranormal activity. The truth may or may not be out there. Indiana, the mysterious fire poltergeist. In 1941, a farmer in Odin had breakfast with his family and then headed out to his barn to begin his chores. Then he noticed smoke coming out of an upstairs window in his house. He ran back, and with the help of the volunteer fire department put out the fire in an upstairs bedroom, only to have another fire break out in another room. All day long, as soon as they put out one fire, another would start elsewhere in the house, 28 in all. Believing his house to be haunted by poltergeists, the farmer tore it down and built a new one. The cause of the fires has never been determined. Iowa, the boy with no appetite. In Cedar Falls, there lives a boy who never gets hungry or thirsty. It all started in 2013, when the boy, Landon Jones, who'd been completely fine up until then, came down with a bacterial infection in his left lung. Ever since then, he's never felt hunger or thirst. He only eats and drinks because he is reminded to do so. No one knows what caused this affliction. Kansas, the baffling disappearance of Randy Leach. In 1988, Randy Leach, a teenager from Leavenworth County, disappeared from a high school party and has never been found. What makes the case stranger is there had been rumors of satanic cult activity in the county in the days before Randy's disappearance, and the party site had been cleaned meticulously before investigators arrived. Soon after, it burned to the ground. Most people who've cooperated in the investigation have turned up dead, and county officials declined to pursue further leads. There are theories about what really happened that night, but we may never know the truth. Kentucky, the meat shower. Not a meteor shower, a meat shower. One day in 1876 over a farm in Kentucky, the sky rained down chunks of meat of indeterminate origin. Was it bear? Mutton? No one knew. The only explanation anyone has ever been able to offer is that the meat was the prey of vultures, who had gorged themselves and then vomited while flying overhead. Louisiana, the unknowable Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau lived in New Orleans at the turn of the 19th century, and charmed, titillated, and unnerved the community with her practice of voodoo. Laveau told fortunes and created potions and charms on request. She held spiritual ceremonies that led people to become possessed. She also could magically heal the sick. However, stories of her feats have been passed along from one generation of voodoo practitioners to the next, making it impossible to know the truth behind the tales. Maine, what happened to Sarah Ware? In 1898, the brutally beaten body of 52-year-old Sarah Ware was discovered in a wooded area of Bucksport. She'd been missing for 2 weeks. Her killer is believed to have been a neighbor, but when the blood-stained hammer believed to be the murder weapon disappeared, the neighbor was acquitted. The case still haunts the town to this day, not just because the case was never solved, but also because the circumstances of her burial are so strange. Her head and body are buried separately, with no gravestone. Maryland, House of Horrors. In 2017, a Bethesda house fire revealed a disturbing find: the body of a man in the basement. Further investigation revealed a mysterious network of tunnels below the foundation of the house that extended all the way to the street. The house owner, Daniel Beckwith, has since been charged with the death of Askia Kafra, the body in the basement. Investigators allege that Beckwith hired Kafra to dig the tunnels but put him in danger due to the unsafe work environment. But the purpose of the tunnels and Beckwith's motives remain a mystery. Massachusetts, the Black Flash of Provincetown. From 1939 to 1945, the people of Provincetown were terrorized by a being they called the Black Flash. The figure first appeared to a group of children, tall, dressed in black, and growling ominously. In 1945, a group of policemen actually reported seeing the figure leap a 10-foot fence. About a month later, a man threw boiling water at the figure, sending it screaming into the night. It was never seen again. Michigan, what exactly is the Paulding Light? In 1966, a group of teens reported having seen a mysterious light above a valley in Paulding. Scientific explanations such as swamp gas have been rejected in favor of the more popular paranormal theory that the light is from the lantern belonging to local brakeman who was killed while attempting to stop an oncoming train. Michigan Tech students believe it's a phenomenon created by headlights from a nearby road, but the mystery remains officially unsolved. Minnesota, the Frozen Girl, defrosted. In 1981, Jean Hillard's car went off the road near Langby, and the next day, her frozen body was discovered, her eyes wide open, her flesh frozen so solid that doctors couldn't pierce it with a hypodermic needle. Her body temperature was too low to register on a thermometer. But when Hillard thawed, she was very much alive and made a full recovery. Mississippi, Phantom Barber of Pascagoula. In 1942, Pascagoula was plagued by a series of peculiar home invasions. The intruder took locks of hair from each of the people whose homes he broke into. Although one man became a suspect, he was never formally charged and passed a lie detector test. No one has ever figured out who the Phantom Barber really was or why he did what he did. Montana, the Vortex and House of Mystery. Just 13 miles from Glacier National Park you can pass through a portal in which the laws of nature are set aside. A gravitational anomaly forces trees to grow sideways and makes people appear as much as 6 inches shorter. A shack in the vortex, called the House of Mystery, is the home to bizarre phenomenon. A marble rolled on an incline will travel upward, and a rope hanging from the ceiling falls in a curve. Nebraska, the Lucky 15. On March 1, 1950, the 15 members of the Beatrice's West Side Baptist Church Choir were supposed to meet for practice. All of the 15 were known for their timeliness, but on this day, they were all running late, every single one of them. The reasons varied, but not a single one was present when a natural gas leak caused the complete destruction of the church. Why and how were every single one of the 15 spared a grisly death? Nevada, who murdered Tupac Shakur? In 1996, hip-hop star Tupac Shakur was killed in Las Vegas during a drive-by shooting. The story begins with a failed attempt on his life 2 years earlier, which Shakur blamed on producer Sean Puff Daddy Combs and rival rapper Christopher Wallace. Notorious B.I.G. Wallace was murdered 6 months later in Los Angeles. No arrest has ever been made in either case.